I'm Sam. Gabe isn't here. And this is Coaster Wars. All right, everybody, as you heard from that beautiful intro, Gabe is not here. Once again, we are following what I'm beginning to believe is the slogan of our podcast. If we are nothing else, we are consistently inconsistent. And so there was a little bit of a recording mishap, and me and Gabe were not able to sit down and record together. And I really wanted you guys to have something to listen to rather than just nothing. So here I am by myself. And I was deciding what to do. I was debating. Last season, I did a solo episode on haunted roller coasters, which kind of just became an episode on the ghost of Kings Island. I really thought about doing something like that. But instead, what I think I'm actually going to do is so with this episode, we're going to try and change up our schedule again because, why not? So we originally planned two battles episodes and then a Coasters 101 on the Coaster Wars to be our season finale. So instead, we're going to do this episode, a Coasters battle on the two most anticipated coasters of our 2025 Roller Coaster Extravaganza. And then we're going to still finish with our season finale on the Coaster Wars. So this episode, what I'm actually going to do, because we've kind of mentioned it, but we've never really gone too far in depth, is I'm going to tell you all of the parks that we're going to. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of their lineups, and then I'm going to kind of touch on what I personally think is supposed to be like the one that we're going to that park for. I've never really sat down and discussed this with Gabe, so I might be completely and 100% wrong on those, but I tried my best. So, and some of them I know for a fact those are the ones that we're going for, so I at least hit those. So yeah, in about literally less than a week, or it might, you know what? As of recording this, I think it's exactly a week. We are leaving on what we're calling our 2025 Roller Coaster Extravaganza. And we are hitting a total of 12 parks, and it should be around 108 roller coasters. I say roller coasters because I've been to some of these parks, and Gabe has been to some of these parks, so it's not going to be 108 brand new credits for us, but it is going to be 108 coasters, and that's also assuming that we're able to get on everything that we want to get on. Now, another little tidbit I have to put in here is me and Gabe are actually both going to be reaching our 200th credit on this trip. It's going to be at different parks for both of us. Gabe is ahead of me in the credit count, so that'll be interesting. But we're going to have to try and maybe hopefully plan it out so that we both have a really good 200th credit. And then maybe next season we'll have to do a battles episodes on mine and Gabe's 200th credits. But to get into the parks, basically what I'm going to do is I'll do a quick rundown of all the parks that we're going to. And then when I get into the parks, I'm going to do each of the coasters that are there that I think we're going to ride. I'm going to do them in alphabetical order just because that's how they appear on rollercoasterdatabase.com. And I'm going to give you the year, the company that makes it, and then the specific model that company calls it. If it's something weird, I might give you a couple extra words, and then I'll go further into depth on again what I think is going to be like the flagship coaster or the best one possibly at that park. So a rundown of the places that we're going to, and this is also in order of how we're going to hit these parks, again barring any unforeseen circumstances. First up, we have Michigan's Adventure, which is obviously in Michigan. And then we're going to Canada's Wonderland, which is in Toronto, Canada. And then we're heading back into the US. We're going to hit Darien Lake, which is in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Then we're hitting Knoebels and Dorney Park all in one day. So that's going to be a hell of a long day. And then we're hitting Hershey Park. And then we're hitting Six Flags America, which is in the greater DC area. Then we're hitting King's Dominion, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, and then Kennywood, Cedar Point, and we are ending with Kings Island. So that is 12 parks, and I think it's really cool because we've got a mix of really big parks. We have several of them that have over at least 11 coasters, and then a couple little small ones mixed in that kind of range between 5 to 7 credits a piece. So when we get into the lineups for all of these parks, we're going to start with Michigan's Adventure. And like I said, I'm just going to go bang, bang, bang. I'm going to say the coaster name, the year, the maker, and the model that it is. So, first up at Michigan's Adventure, we have Corkscrew, which is a 1979 Aero Corkscrew, of course. We have Mad Mouse, which is a 1999 Aero Mad Mouse. Now, that is the model that Aero specifically uses, but it is just a wild mouse ride. We then have Shivering Timbers, which is a 1998 CCI Woody, which is Custom Coasters International. We then have Thunderhawk, which is a 2008 Vekoma suspended looping coaster. Now, when you look up these coasters on our CDB, they abbreviate them to SLCs, and we're going to ride a couple of them in this trip. So from now on, if you hear a Vekoma SLC, that stands for suspended looping coaster. And then finally on the docket for Michigan's Adventure, we have Wolverine Wildcat, which is a 1998 DynCorp Woody. So the big ticket coaster at this park, I believe, is going to be Shivering Timbers. Now, another thing I forgot to tell you about doing these lineups is I'm going to give you more information on the big ticket coaster, but I also watched POVs on these coasters, so I can kind of give you what I think like the general take of this ride is. Now, keep in mind it is a POV, and I have not ridden most of these. I will point out the ones that I have ridden. So, like I said, this is a 1998 CCI Woody. It's got a length of 5,380 feet of track, which is gigantic. A top height of 122 feet, and it features two airtime hills, one at 100 feet, one at 95 feet. And those are just like the big featured elements. Obviously, this is a Woody. It contains so many more airtime hills. That drop is at 53.3 degrees and a top speed of 57 miles per hour. And this guy runs PTC trains. So from watching the point POV, this on the surface looks like a pretty standard out and back Woody roller coaster, but a lot, especially the first two right after the drop, a lot of these airtime hills are super big and exaggerated, and it does end with a helix. And that helix looked like it was pretty intense. So when you look at Michigan's lineup, this definitely is probably going to be the best coaster there. And I do believe it's why we're stopping at Michigan's Adventure. And, you know, me and Gabe, we really love a good Woody. So I am actually very excited for this one. So next on the docket is Canada's Wonderland. Now, this is going to be mine and Gabe's first international trip, an international park, I should say. And this guy is a big park. It's got 16 credits here, which is actually insane because I think that's more than Cedar Point and Kings Island. So when I get into this lineup, we start off with Backlot Stunt Coaster. This is a 2005 Premier LIM launch coaster. We then have Bat, which is a 1987 Vekoma Boomerang. Behemoth, which is a 2008 B&M Hyper. Dragon Fire, which is a 1981 Aero Custom Looper. Flight Deck, which is a 1995 Vekoma SLC. Fly, which is a 1999 Mach Wild Mouse. Ghoster Coaster, which is a 1981 in-house Woody. Leviathan, which so it's a B&M Hyper because that's what B&M calls this specific model of roller coaster, but it is a Giga, so this guy goes over 300 feet. We then have the mighty, well, the is not in the name. It's Mighty Canadian Mindbuster. It is a 1981 in-house Woody. Silver Streak, which is a 2001 Vekoma suspended family coaster. Now, this one I'm putting in here. So, like I said, Gabe put together the itinerary. He put what parks we're going to, like the mileage. He counted all the coasters and stuff, and he put little credit limits next to each park, and they don't exactly match what's on RCDB because they also include RCDB includes kiddie coasters, and we're not necessarily going to ride every single kiddie coaster. So this one's called Snoopy's Racing Railway. It's a 2023 Art Family launch coaster. And so I don't know if this is included on Gabe's list. I don't know if we're going to ride it, but who knows? It sounded interesting, so I might make him ride it anyways. We then have Thunder Run, which is a 1981 Mach powered coaster. It goes in and out of Wonder Mountain, which is this big giant mountain sort of in the middle of the park, and a couple of different roller coasters interact with it. We then have Vortex, which is a 1991, aerial suspended coaster, Wildebeest, a 1981 in-house Woody, and Wonder Mountain Guardian, which is a 2014 art interactive coaster with a 30-foot drop track. This guy looks really similar to me, and it's the same model and the same company as Primordial at Lagoon. So I am very excited for this guy. And then Yukon Striker, which is a 2019 B&M dive coaster that contains 4 inversions. So that is one hell of a stacked lineup. Honestly, quite a few of these I think are going to be awesome. Almost all of them I think are going to be fun. But what I think is going to be the big ticket coaster here, both literally and figuratively, is probably Leviathan, the B&M Hyper model that is a giga coaster. It has a track length of 5,486 feet of track, a height and drop of 306 feet, and a top speed of 92 miles per hour. That drop is 80 degrees. And after watching the POV, it looked to me, in my very limited roller coaster knowledge, Gabe will probably yell at me for this later, but from the POV, it looked similar to Fury 325. And I loved Fury. And I'm not saying it's going to be as good. I'm not saying it's going to be exactly the same, but it looked similar. It gave me the similar vibes as Fury 325. So I think that's what it's going to be somewhat like. I'm hoping it's like. So we'll go with that. Now, I do have to put this at the end of Canada's Wonderland. Okay, we're going to say that Alpine Fury is an honorable mention. It is a new coaster that is currently being built at Canada's Wonderland. It was slated to open this year in late spring. Now, I will give them this. Late spring technically goes to June 21st. And if they are managed to finish it by June 21st, not only will they not be behind schedule, but 2, we will be able to ride it because I believe we're going to be at the park on the 23rd. But as of this singular moment in time, from what I can see from YouTube updates and construction updates and all that stuff, they have technically completely finished the track, finished torquing all the supports and all that stuff. They've done clearance testing, and they are technically testing some of the launch mechanism, but as far as I know, full circuit testing has not gone through. And me and Gabe have talked about how we don't know what all the laws are in Canada but about, getting it all tested and certified and all that jazz. And I have very, very low hopes. I don't even know that I have any that it's going to be done by the time that we get to the park, because it literally it's a week. I don't know. There's so much paperwork, I'm sure, involved. I don't even think, no. So we're kind of just counting on this being closed. We're not even going to wish that it's going to be open. We're just like, it's going to be closed. So for whatever reason, if it happens to get open by the time we get to the park, it's just a happy accident. So, but it is a premier skyrocket ride. It's got a top height of 164 feet, a drop of 154 feet, an LSM launch and boost at 71 miles per hour. It looks freaking cool, but like I said, I don't think it's going to be open. So with that, we move into our third park of this trip. It is going to be Darien Lake. Now, Darien Lake has 7 credits. We start off with Boomerang, which of course is a 1998 Vekoma Boomerang. We have Mind Eraser, which is a 1997 Vekoma SLC. Moto Coaster, which is a 2008 Zamperla Moto Coaster. The trains look like you're riding on sports motorcycles, so I don't think that's a big ticket coaster, but I definitely am very intrigued and excited to ride this. We then have Predator, which is a 1990 Dingcorp Woody. Ride of Steel, which is, I think it's a 1999 Intimate Mega Coaster. We have Tantrum, which is a 2018 Gerstlauer, oh my gosh, I cannot say that, Gerstlauer Eurofighter, and then Viper, which is a 1982 custom aero looper. So now I think the big ticket one here is going to be Ride of Steel. Like I said, it is a 1999 Intimate Mega Coaster. It stands at 200 feet. That drop is 205 feet. It has a drop of 68 degrees and a top speed of 75 miles per hour. Now, this coaster drops off a 200-foot lift hill and then stays very close to the ground, except for a very couple huge airtime hills. Oh, at least they hook huge in the POV. So it makes me think that in those close to the ground moments, it's going to carry its speed, give you some good laterals, some good G forces. There's a couple helixes and stuff. And then those airtime hills will offer very good floater. And there is a couple at the end that are smaller, so they look like ejector. I don't know about the pacing on this ride. I am afraid it's going to be a little bit too drawn out, but we'll see when we get there. Okay? I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to let it, just do what it does and we'll decide afterwards. So after Darien Lake, we have Knoebels. And getting into this lineup, we start off with Black Diamond. Now this was installed at Knoebels at 2011. It is a PTC enclosed hybrid coaster, which means, yes, steel track from PTC, but this is basically a dark ride, and it originally operated at a place in Jersey called Dinosaur Beach from 1960 to 1998. So it was moved, and it looks intriguing, especially since it's a PTT or PTC hybrid coaster, but it's basically going to be a dark ride. I don't imagine anything too crazy from this thing. Then we have Flying Turns, which is a 2013 in-house bobsled coaster. I am very excited for this guy. I'm so excited to get on a bobsled coaster. There's not very many of them around, so this is going to be fun. Now, Gabe, I don't think Gabe counted this one, but I might make him ride it or even ride it by myself if he doesn't ride it. But it's called Cosmos Curves. It's a 2009 Ian F. Miller 20-foot model. Now, if anyone remembers our Jinky But Fun episode, Ian F. Miller is the company that made Hurricane. So I might make Gabe ride this just to say that I can. We'll see. I don't know for sure. We then have Phoenix, which is a 1985 PTC double out and back Woody. And then we have Twister, which is a 1999 in-house Woody. And I think this is going to be the big ticket ride. So it stands at 101 feet. That drop is 89 feet. It is a top speed of 51 miles per hour, which is insane when you watch the POV because this thing is so compact in and on itself. And Gabe actually told me about this coaster. I did not even realize, but it is so compact. It had to build the lift hill on top of itself. So basically, you the half of the lift hill is under the second half and you're going up towards it, and then you have a little turnaround to bring you to the other side so you can go up the second half of this lift hill. And from watching the POV, this thing, as the name suggests, just twists in on itself. It has good airtime moments. It has good lateral moments. It's a little bit older of a Woody, so there's not quite as much banking as this thing probably needs. There's going to be a tunnel on it. And then it reminds me a lot of American Thunder at Six Flags St. Louis. And I think this guy is going to be super fun to ride. I'm excited for Knoebels in general. This is going to be a fun little park. I'm very excited. But moving on from Knoebels, we then move into Dorney Park. And getting into the lineup, we start off with Hydra the Revenge, which is a B&M floorless from 2005. It has a total of 7 inversions. We have Iron Menace, which is a 2024 B&M dive coaster with 4 inversions. Possessed, which is a 2008 Intimate Impulse coaster that launches 70 miles per hour, Then there is Steel Force, which is a 1997 D.H. Morgan manufacturing. And we have Talon, which is a B&M custom invert built in 2001. Thunderhawk, which is a 1924 PTC Woody. This will be the first coaster on this trip that is over 100 years old. And you heard me right. First one, because we're riding multiple 100-year-old roller coasters. And the final one at this park is Wild Mouse, which is a 2000 Mauro Wild Mouse ride. Now, at this park, I think there's going to be 2 big ticket rides. The first one is going to be that Steel Force from Morgan Manufacturing. It is a top height of 200 feet, a drop of 205 feet. It has 2 tunnels. But looking at this guy, it's giving Magnum XL vibes. It's very airtime focused. It has a Felix that looks pretty intense, and those airtime hills were looking pretty triangle like. So I imagine that it's maybe a similar ride to that. It looks like it from the POV. Again, Gabe might yell at me later, but he's not here to yell at me now, so whatever. We then, I think the other one might, I don't know. I feel like I've heard this name before, but it could be a totally different coaster. I feel like I've heard the name Talon before. Now, like I said, this is a B&M custom invert, so it's not a Batman clone. It was built in 2001. It has 4 inversions. From the POV, it looks pretty intense and it moves good. I just worry about there being quote unquote dead spots because there is only 4 inversions, and I don't remember what the track length on this one was, but it's longer than Batman. And one of the things about Batman is it manages to pack in a bunch of inversions and only 2,700 feet of track. So it's paced really well and it hits you really quick. So we'll see. Again, I'll give it a chance. I won't judge it now. We'll see afterwards. But after Dorney Park, we then move into Hershey Park, which is one of course, the bigger parks. I believe it has 13 credits at it. So starting at the top of the lineup, we have Candemonium, a 2020 B&M Hyper, Comet, a 1946 PTC Woody. You want more information on this one, check out Season 1, Episode 23. It was my pick in that Battles episodes. Fahrenheit, which is an intimate vertical lift coaster built in 2008. Great Bear, which is a 1998 B&M invert custom layout. Jolly Rancher Remix, which is a 1997 Vekoma Boomerang. Laugh Track, which is a 2015 Malware enclosed spinning coaster. Lightning Racer, which is a 2000 GCI Dueling Woody. Sky Rush, which is a 2012 Intimate Wing Coaster. Super Duper Looper, which is a 1977 Schwarzkopf, and I believe the only Schwarzkopf, unfortunately, of our trip. Makes me a little bit sad, but that's okay. Storm Runner, which is a 2004 Intimate Accelerator coaster that features a 75 mile per hour hydraulic launch, which I believe is the only hydraulic launch of our trip. Trailblazer, which is a 1974 Aero Mine Train. Wild Mouse, which is a mock Wild Mouse from 1999. And of course, Wildcat's Revenge, an RMC Iron Horse conversion in 2023. Now, there are a couple we could kind of talk about with Hershey Park, but I really think the 2 big ticket rides here are obviously Sky Rush and Wildcat's Revenge. Now, Sky Rush, like I said, is an intimate wing coaster. It is also 200 feet tall. That drop is 87 degrees, reaching a top speed of 75 miles per hour. Now, I've ridden this one, and it was really cool. It's a very ejector, airtime, laterals, G-force kind of focused ride. It's much different than the floater airtime focus of a B&M Hyper roller coaster. My complaint with this ride, and a lot of people's complaints, and you've probably heard about this if you've heard of Sky Rush, is that it had a terrible restraint system when it was originally built. But I think it was either last year or the year before, it just got new trains. So not only will this be Gabe's first ride on Sky Rush, but I also get to ride it with new trains. And I have a feeling it's going to be freaking awesome. Now, the other big ticket one here is Wildcat's Revenge, which is an RMC Iron Horse conversion to the iBox track in 2023. It's one of their newest conversions. And on top of that, it was not only my 100th credit, but the first time that I rode it, it's skyrocketed to number 1 on my list. Again, me and Gabe are going to have to go back through our top 15s, especially after this trip. I don't know where it sits, but I think it's still at 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 on my list. So, and that guy is 140 feet tall, top speed of 62 miles per hour, and it has 4 inversions. So with Wildcat's Revenge, like any I shouldn't say any RMC, but a lot of RMCs, it has very good pacing. The elements are super well done. And this is one of the ones where they added the metal to the lift hill to make it even taller. And it is super pretty to look at too, because Gabe's probably mentioned this. It has black supports and red track. It's very pretty. But after Hershey Park, we then go on to Six Flags America, which is in the greater DC area. And hitting that lineup, we start with Batwing, which is a Vekoma Flying Dutchman built in 2001, Firebird, which is a 2012 B&M Floorless. Just a small note here, this was originally a B&M stand-up coaster called Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America. Now, me and Gabe did, I forget what episode number it is, but in season 1, we did our worst credits, and I talked all about this guy, but it's going to be really cool getting to ride it again as a B&M Floorless instead of a stand-up. I think that'll be really interesting. We then have Joker Jinx, which is a 1999 premiere LIM launch coaster that launches 60 miles per hour. Professor Screamore Skywinder, which is a 1995 Vekoma SLC. Raging Cajun, which is a 2014, and don't even know if I'm saying this right, Reverchon or Reverchon spinning coaster. Roar, which is a 1998 GCI Woody, and Superman Ride of Steel, a 2000 Intimate Mega Coaster. It has the same name, so I think it's a clone of the other Ride of Steel that we are going to ride earlier in this strip. But again, I don't know, and Gabe's probably going to yell at me later, but he's not here to yell at me now. So just I'll leave that there for you to think about. And the last one here is called Wild One. It is a 1986 PTC Woody. Now, I know for a fact the reason we're going to Six Flags America is for Batwing. It is a Vekoma Flying Dutchman. It is the original flying model before B&M did their flyers. It stands at 115 feet tall. It has 5 inversions, top speed of 50 miles per hour. And the reason we're going here is to get me on one of these Flying Dutchman models. Vekoma doesn't make them anymore. And this is the last one standing in the United States. And with the closing, because the closing of Nighthawk, the Nighthawk was the other one. That's the one that Gabe has ridden. And that one was at Carowinds. And unfortunately is closing down. And then on top of that, so that was the whole reason we were going to Six Flags America. But with the merger, the park is also now closing. It is closing as of November. So I don't know if this is on anyone's bucket list. From what Gabe tells me, this is not Six Flags parks aren't the best necessarily anyways. And this is kind of the worst end of the Six Flags parks. So it'll be very interesting to kind of go there. But that is why we're going here, is for Batwing. After Six Flags America, we then hit another big ticket park, and that is King's Dominion. This lineup starts up with, I love the name of this coaster, Apple Zapple, which is a 2002 Mach Wild Mouse. Dominator, which is a 2008 B&M Floorless. Flight of Fear, which is a 1996 premiere LIM coaster. We rode the enclosed version at Kings Island, so it'll be really cool to ride the other clone of this. And this one is outdoors, so that'll be a new experience. We have Grizzly, which is a 1982 in-house Woody. Pantherian, or formerly Intimidator 305, or I-305, or Project 305. It is a 2010 Intimate Giga Coaster. We have Racer 75, which coincidentally is a 1975 PTC racing coaster. Raptera, which is a 2025 launched B&M wing coaster. Reptilian, which is a 1988 Mach steel bobsled. I can't believe we're rating 2 of these in one trip. Tumbilly, which is a 2002 SNS free spin. Now, if anyone's listened to our podcast, we do not count these. We most likely will not ride it. I just put it here for number's sake. And then Twisted Timbers, which is a 2018 RMC Iron Horse conversion that neither me or Gabe has ridden, so that'll be fun to ride. But the big ticket one I know for a fact here is going to be Pantherian. Like I said, it is a 2010 Intimate Giga Coaster. It stands at 305 feet. Drop is 300 feet at 87 degrees, a top speed of 90 miles per hour. And with this guy, once you drop off that lift hill, you stay so close to the ground for basically the entire ride. It has super whippy transitions, but still manages to pop in there some airtime moments. And the whole thing with this guy is that a lot of GP says that it is too intense, but roller coaster enthusiasts love this thing. So me and Gabe especially, is so excited to get on this guy. But after King's Dominion, we then move on to Busch Gardens Williamsburg's. Top of the lineup starts with Alpengeist, which is a 1997 B&M custom invert. We have Apollo's Chariot, which is a 1999 B&M Hyper. This is the first, the OG. And again, Gabe's not here to yell at me, so I'm just going to say it. And according to Gabe, the worst B&M Hyper. But you have to give it to them. It's the first one they ever did. So they were still, figuring out the magic. A year later, they came out with Raging, or not even same year, a little bit later, they came out with Raging Bull, and that one's freaking awesome. So after that, we have Big Bad Wolf, The Wolf's Revenge, which is a 2025 B&M family coaster. Now, I don't know that me or Gabe have ever ridden this model from B&M, so that'll be cool. And it's a 2025. It's their brand new coaster. We then have Dark Coaster, which is a 2023 intimate family launch coaster. Griffin, which is a 2007 B&M dive coaster. Invadar, which is a 2017 GCI Woody with Millennium Flyer trains. Also excited for this guy. Loch Ness Monster, which is a 1978 Aero custom looper featuring interlocking loops. Want more information on this guy? If you can stand it, because I know our early episodes have terrible audio. Check out season 1, episode 3 for more info. That is Gabe's pick for that episode. And then Pantheon, which is a 2022 LSM Intimate Launch Coaster. Tempesto, which is a 2015 Premier Skyrocket. And Verbolten, which is a 2012 Zyre Elevated Seating Coaster. On RCDB, it just says ESC. I had to look up what this thing was. It is a launch coaster. But the one here, I'm excited for a couple of them. I'm excited for all of the B&Ms because they're early B&Ms. I'm excited for some B&Ms. There's a GCI Woody, but I do think that the big ticket here is going to be Pantheon. It was being built when Gabe actually originally visited this park. So he's been here. He's got a lot of these credits, but he does not have Pantheon. So we'll be experiencing it for the first time together. But like I said, it's a 2022 LSM Intimate Launch Coaster. It is 178 feet tall, that top speed of 73 miles per hour. Now, I don't say that initial launch because it features a rollback and a vertical spike and then a boost that then launches you over the top hat. But this is another low to the ground coaster with super whippy transitions. The rollback looks absolutely crazy. On the few inversions that it does have, they are a drastic change from the rest of this coaster. They just go up so high and then you dive right back to the ground. It looks absolutely crazy and it looks so good. So our next park is Kennywood. Lineup starts with Exterminator, which is a 1999 Revertron indoor spinning coaster. Jackrabbit, a 1920 in-house Woody. This guy is 105 years old. Kennywood has 3 coasters that are in this age range, which is kind of crazy. Phantom's Revenge, which is a 1991 Aero custom looping coaster. So, okay, note here. Phantom's Revenge is a 1991 Aero custom looping coaster. And I saw that and I went, holy crap, because this guy stands at over 200 feet. And it's a looping coaster. I got so excited for a second, but then I read further down. Morgan was brought in the 2000 to 2001 off season to modify the ride. The loops were taken out, unfortunately. But it did increase the drop from 225 feet to 228 feet, and the length was increased from 3,000 feet to 3,200 feet. So, unfortunately, it does not go upside down anymore, but it is a 200-foot tall Aero. So that should be fun in and of itself. You then have Racer, which is another of these really old Woodies. It's a 1927 in-house Woody. Skyrocket, which is a 2010 Premier Skyrocket. It is a 50-mile-an-hour launch. And Steel Curtain, which is a 2019 S&S Steel sit-down coaster. And finally, Thunderbolt, which is, again, a 1924 in-house Woody. This guy is 101 years old. But if anybody knows anything about Kennywood, obviously here, and I know this one for a fact, the big ticket one here is Steel Curtain. It was closed for a long time, which is crazy because this thing opened in 2019. It was closed, I think, all of last season or something, and it opened at the beginning of this season. So that's another reason why we kind of mixed up our park list because Gabe and I honestly really want to get here and ride this thing. Now, it stands at 220 feet tall, a top speed of 75 miles per hour, and this thing has 8 inversions. You basically spend half the ride upside down, which I'm totally here for. It looks very exciting. But what I want to say from the POV is this ride looks like it is very well paced. It utilizes a variety of versions while mixing in some doses of airtime and whippy transitions, and it just looks like you're being whipped in every direction. It looks like a very fast paced but well paced roller coaster. I'm definitely very excited for this guy. We're almost there, guys. We only have 2 parks left, and the next 2 I'm going to kind of speed through because they are 2 parks that me and Gabe have been to before. So first up, we have Cedar Point. You got Blue Streak, a 1964 PTC Woody. Cedar Creek Mine Ride, a 1969 Aero Mine Train. Corkscrew, a 1976 Aero Custom Looper. Gatekeeper, a 2013 B&M Wing Coaster. Gemini, a 1978 Aero Racing Hybrid Coaster. Iron Dragon, which is a 1987 Aero suspended coaster. Magnum XL, which is a 1989 Aero hyper coaster. Maverick, which is a 2007 Intimate LSM launch coaster that launches 70 miles per hour. Millennium Force, which is a 2001 Intimate Giga coaster. Raptor, a 1994 B&M Invert Custom. Rougarou, which is a 1996 B&M stand-up that was converted into a floor list. It contains 4 inversions. Steel Vengeance, which is a 2018 RMC Iron Horse conversion, which previously was Mean Streak. This is one of the few conversions out there where Gabe has ridden both the original coaster and the conversion. Of course, Top Thrill 2, which is a 2003 Intimate LSM launch coaster. Of course, in the 2021 to 2024 off-season, Zamperla heavily modified this coaster. It used to be a hydraulic launch, and now it's LSMs. Valraven, which is a 2016 B&M dive coaster. Wild Mouse, which is a 2025 Zamperla twister coaster. That's just Zamperla's model for this. It's a Wild Mouse. So the big one here is obviously Top Thrill 2, because me and Gabe have ridden Top Thrill, but not Top Thrill 2. And to be perfectly honest, we were kind of mad when story of Top Thrill. It's an awesome 400 foot tall. It's 420 feet that launches 120 miles per hour. It was a hydraulic launch. It was super punchy. It was like the little brother to King Ka, and it was super fun to ride. We loved this ride, okay? And I believe the story is that a piece flew off, and because of where the queue line went at the time, it hit a lady in line. She didn't die, but she was injured. And of course, when that happens, the ride has to shut down. So it was up in the air. We didn't know what was going to be done with it, but then we heard that something was being done with it and it wasn't being torn out. So we were super excited to see what they were going to do with it. And then they just basically added a vertical spike and slowed down the launch. And we're like, it's not going to be as good. Okay, but watching the POV, it still kind of looks insane because that first launch is still a hefty launch. I think it's like 100 miles an hour or something. It might not be that much. It might only be like 80 or 70. But you go like halfway up the top hat, and halfway doesn't sound that good, except for this is a 400 foot tall roller coaster. So halfway up is 200 feet in the air, and then you fly backwards up that vertical spike, which again looks so freaking tall, it's not even funny. And then you get launched forward again, building your speed 120 miles an hour because that's what it takes to get up and over that 420 foot tall top hat. And they set up bleachers into so you can watch it launch, and it involves a switch track and stuff. And just I'm kind of excited for this. And now I'm going to call this an honorable mention because I don't want to put it out there that it's going to be open because then it won't be open. But according to everything that I've seen, they have an open date of June 28th, which means theoretically it will be open when we are at the park. Now, this is a 2025 Vekoma tilt coaster. It's 160 feet tall, 58 mile per hour top speed, and 2 inversions. But what's exciting about this guy is, first of all, it's a new age Vekoma, which is awesome. And then this is like I said, a tilt coaster. So basically, it's going to bring you to that top height, and you're going to be sitting horizontal to the ground, and then it's going to tilt you vertically on a tilt deck and then just drop you. And it looks absolutely insane. I I believe they've been testing it, and if it's going to open on the 28th, I mean, it must have good tests going, but I haven't actually like watched a POV of it. I've kind of been putting it off cuz I kind of just want to experience this thing. I'm so excited. I really hope it's open, but it's not going to be, knocking on all the wood. And the final park on our trip is going to be a return trip to Kings Island. Now, I'm just going to bing, bang, boom through this. I don't believe it has any coasters here that we have not ridden. So let's just get into it. At the top, we have Adventure Express, a 1991 Aero Mine Train, Banshee, a 2014 B&M Custom Invert, Bat, a 1993 Aero Suspended Coaster, Beast, one of my favorites, a 1979 in-house Woody featuring 2 lift hills and 7,361 feet of track. Diamondback, a 2009 B&M Hyper featuring a splashdown. Flight of Fear, which I mentioned before, this is a 1996 premiere LIM launch, and this one is enclosed and it features some of the best theming on any ride ever. In Vertigo, now I had to look this guy up because it says it's a 1999 Vekoma in Vertigo model. But when I was looking at the pictures, I go, that just looks like a boomerang. Well, I was partly right because this is just a boomerang with an inverted train. Mystic Timbers, which is a 2017 GCI Woody, and this is one of mine and Gabe's favorites. It has great theming, great pacing, and I don't know where it sits in both of our 15s, but I'm pretty sure it's still there. Orion, which is a 2020 B&M Hyper model, but this is technically, but also not technically, a Giga coaster. The drop is 300 feet, so we call it a Giga. And then Racer, which is a 1972 PTC racing coaster. And that is the lineup for our 2025 Roller Coaster Extravaganza. You can kind of tell now why we are calling it a Roller Coaster Extravaganza. And something I want to point out real quick too, and me and Gabe have talked about this in a couple other episodes, but one of the reasons me and Gabe are able to do a trip like this is because we purchased a season pass and added the all parks passport upgrade. Now, part of me kind of hates that there's this giant roller coaster conglomerate out there controlling literally half the parks in the entire United States, but at the same time, by buying this season pass, out of all the parks that we're going to go to in this trip, I think there's like 3 or 4 of them out of 12 parks, okay, that we're going to have to pay for. And when you have the season pass, not only is it your ticket to get in, it is also your parking. And you also get discounts on dining, drinks, and like all the gift shops and stuff. Every single time you go to pay, they always ask you, are you a season pass holder? You show it to them. I know it's only a couple bucks, but hey, it's a couple bucks. And on a trip like this, it's probably going to add up after a while. So, and as far as we have used it, we haven't had any issues. The only issue I ran into was trying to use it before I had activated it. And unfortunately, you do have to activate it at what you choose as your home park. But the nice thing is this works for the Cedar Fair and the Six Flags parks. So you can make any of those parks your home park. And then once you go there, activate it, you can then use it at literally any of the parks. And so it's one of the ways we are actually able to go on this trip. So, really quick here at the end, just going to go over that schedule one more time. Our next episode coming out will be a battles episode on mine and Gabe's most anticipated coaster of this trip. And then we'll be ending with our Coasters 101 on the Coaster Wars, the namesake of our podcast. And that will definitely 100% be the end of the season. I don't remember the date that it comes out, but of course, there's only 2 episodes left after this, so just in 2 weeks. And then keep an eye on all of our socials. Not only will we be putting out TikToks for the parks that we're going to, but you can also keep an eye out for when we are going to come back. I think as of right now, me and Gabe kind of discussed it. We think in November is when we're going to come back. I just don't have a specific date for you guys yet. So, as always, thank you all for listening. I'm sorry that this was just a lot of me talking at you, But now you have a rundown of the parks that we're going to and kind of a very brief overview of all the coasters we're going to be riding. We're going to have so much content for you guys next season. But thank you for listening. Join us next week for our battles episode, and I hope you all have a great day.